first-class mages make the impossible possible. And that's the key point of what I want to be talking about within this video, is making the impossible possible. Because being able to break your beliefs, being able to break what you believe to be true is going to be the only way that I myself have been able to grow. And if this has helped me grow, then I know that it can help you as well too, because I've seen so many impossible things happen. Like I never expected me to have like certain things happen in my life, and yet they were able to happen because I was able to break and make the impossible possible. There's a couple of examples I want to give throughout this video as well too. Not necessarily related to anime, because I want it to be an actual real life experience, so that hopefully it'll inspire you to look at things in a different way than you've been looking at, along with giving some personal stories that I have had with other people that I have come in contact with. So you must forge ahead regardless of whether or not anyone has been there before. It does help out if other people have been there before, yet if nobody's ever been there before, it doesn't mean that it's impossible to do, because anything is possible if you think about it. Originally, we thought that going to the moon was impossible, and yet we ended up going to the moon. We thought that creating self-driving cars was impossible, and then we created self-driving cars. We thought creating animes like this and having so many out there and having the creation of animation was impossible. And then we started to do more and more and more until it started to become possible, and until it started to become a reality. And that's why the guy, he's like a little shocked afterwards. He's like, wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, I guess that's true. Like, we do have to have like this unwavering determination to be able to get like to there, because like, how should we prove that you've reached the bottom? That question isn't really relevant right now, but it's like you have to be willing to like have this different perspective of being able to be like, yeah, just because like you have to make the impossible possible. So there's this dude that my buddy was talking to me about yesterday, where he was telling me about this guy named Alex Labs. I never even heard of the guy. And this is the great part, is like, my buddy, he's much more into engineering, but I was talking about like, why don't we just create like our own Iron Man suit? So this is exactly what this dude does. Like, to me, I thought it was impossible for somebody to have that. But like, if we look through this guy's videos, which to me, this is crazy. It's like, he ended up creating like his own like mini arc reactor. So like he uses like, it's not even like energy, but like it's a hydrogen reactor that like is on his chest. I'm like, that's pretty impressive. Like, that's really cool. 9.6 million people have seen that. And you might be like, that's a lot, but like, did you ever know about that? I didn't know about that until just now. And I have always had this impression that like things are always happening, but like if we don't understand that they're happening, how are we going to know that they're happening in the first place? So like, things are always getting attracted to us that are going to reinforce the ideas that we hold, along with being able to challenge the ideas that we also hold as well too. Because if you do want to become like a first-class mage, you have to figure out how to make the impossible possible. That's a big point. So like, same thing, I was talking with another buddy of mine, and I was like, yeah, dude, like there's this guy that I saw on YouTube where like he was able to do a standing double back tuck. Like, wait, what do you mean? He's like, there's no way that's possible. And then I'm like, okay, well, watch this. Like, he didn't land the first one, but pretty dang close. And like, sure, he's like on a little bit of a hill, but like, dude, that's still pretty impressive seeing somebody do a standing double back tuck on grass. Like, he has a little bit of a slant, but nonetheless, like, you could discredit him for doing that thing, because everybody always wants to discredit people for achieving these magnificent things that seem impossible. Like, you can even see the guy's face. It's like, wow, that's impressive that I was able to do that. Because what did he do? He made the impossible possible, because he thought it and then he was able to do this. And I touched on this in a brief other video as well too, and I'm going to touch on a couple more videos that I have coming up, is the imagination is the key resource. And if you can imagine it is possible, then it does become possible. You just first have to step into your true being and realize that like, just because somebody else told you that it was impossible doesn't mean that it's impossible. Like, how many times have you been told that, oh, you can't do this? Or like, prime example for myself. Well, okay, I don't really have these prime examples for myself, because a lot of the people that I come in contact with, this isn't being egotistical. It's just like, this is conversations that I've had because people see me, they see my determination, they see my resolve, they see the ability of me willing to put in the work regardless of what it takes. So like, I've never really had these things of people being like, no, like, if you want it, you will have it, because like, that's just who I am. I go out and I go get it. I start climbing the mountain. I start taking the steps. I try to figure out ways to make the impossible possible. So like, I've never had those times, but like, if you've ever had times in your life where people have told you like, hey, you can't make this much money in a year, or it's just like, hey, you can't watch that many anime shows in a day, or hey, like, you need to go, like, you can't sit around playing video games and make money, or you can't sit around playing and watching anime videos and make money. It's just like, well, who says? Like, there's all these other people that have been able to do it. They seem to make the impossible possible. So it's about finding somebody else that has done it, even though like, she does say like, just because like somebody else hasn't, like, you must forge ahead regardless of whether or not anyone else has been there beforehand, which is, it's true to a certain extent. Whereas like, if you need somebody to break that belief for you, I'm happy to break that belief for you, because I have a lot of different stories and I have talked with a lot of different people that have been able to break those beliefs for me. However, that's not always going to be the case. Like, sometimes you'll just have to forge ahead regardless of if you know somebody else has done it, because like, you inherently know. Like, there's a hike that I ended up going on It was a beautiful hike, absolutely beautiful. And I was like, okay, can I make it to the top of this mountain? I was like, I don't know, but I don't know if anybody else has ever done it. I have a feeling that somebody else has, but like I haven't done it. So I'm going to make the impossible possible. And I just kept taking one step after another until I ended up reaching the top. It was fantastic. I loved it. It was great. And if you've ever heard anything about David Blaine, or if you know who David Blaine is, like the magic that he does, it seems like it would be impossible. Like for him to be able to do the type of work that he does, of being able to like jab these lines, like these crazy things through his arm. Like, I mean, just look at this, dude. Like, this is insane. Like, he's jabbing a needle through his bicep, like through his bicep. It's just like, okay, this is magic. Somebody would be like, this is impossible. But like, you could be like, look, and like, just like seeing this here right now, to me, it's a trip, because like, to me, that doesn't look like magic, but like, to Ricky Gervais, it's like that looks like magic to him. And it's just like, it's insane that this is something that a person had the imagination to be able to believe is true. And he removed all irrationality from his ability to understand these things. And he was able to push this whole stick through his whole arm. It's just like, there's no way that this is possible. Like, it just goes right through his arm. But like David, he believed that it was true. Whereas Ricky, he's like, I don't believe this to be true. But like, that's why magic is so powerful, is because as long as the wielder of the magic believes it to be true, then it is true. And this is something that I'm going to touch on in a later video. I just wanted to give you this as a little synopsis. So like, if you want to know what I'm going to be talking about, then subscribe to the channel with notifications on to make sure that you don't miss out on that said video. I'm just impressed, dude, like with what is able to, like what the human mind is able to comprehend and come up with, because it really is a fascinating concept. Like, even like, I never would have believed that being able to swallow, like if you've never heard of David Blaine, highly recommend checking out some of his stuff, because like, dude, like legit, like he swallows things in his stomach. Like he, apparently this is from like the Houdini, but like he swallows, and like he made his stomach into an aquarium, which like to me and to anybody else is like, that's impossible. Like, how do you do something? But that's where I come back to this said thing, and this isn't going to show because I have this open and full screen, but what we can do is we can click on this, and that's where I say, like, when I look at this, it's like, you can make the impossible possible. It's just, you have to first be able to imagine it, and if you aren't able to imagine it, then it's not going to be able to become true. So you have to forge ahead, and like, this is why it's great, because once you start to do things that other people haven't done, then you can start to blow people's minds, and like, wait, hold on, bro, like, you had a frog within your stomach. It's just like, there's no way that this is true, but it is. Like, this is one of those many things that are true in our reality. It's just a matter of us being able to tap into that said feeling, tap into that said being, and being able to realize, like, yeah, there are people out there that have amazing, incredible, unique gifts and talents, and they have magical abilities to be able to create something out of nothing because they decided to forge ahead when everybody else decided to stop. And this is the difference between what differentiates me versus somebody else. I think I did touch on this as well, too, that I said I was going to talk about this one person, which I don't think I did touch on it. So I'm going to touch on it briefly right now before we end up wrapping up the video. There are certain people out there that are able to create and have this different way of being that we didn't originally know was possible. And that's why I say, like, having these other conversations with these other people, because one of the buddies that told me about the Alex Labs at the beginning, we ended up having this other conversation with this 32-year-old that was like a multimillionaire, has multiple different cars. And he's like, oh, okay, so that is possible. And I was like, yeah, dude, like, it's possible. Like, I can say these stories all the time for myself, but like, until it comes from somebody else, you might not necessarily believe it's true. It's why I showed you the examples within this said video, to hopefully inspire you in some way, shape, or form to realize that, like, regardless of what it is that you want to do, like, if you think that it's impossible, there's probably somebody else out there that has done something similar to you. And then even if they have done something similar to you, or if they have not done something similar to you, you can at least still go out and forge ahead regardless of whether or not anybody else has done it or been there before you, because there's an aspect where it's just like, regardless of where it's at, regardless of what's happening, regardless of what's going on, anything and anyone can be defeated or conquer the thing that they want to have conquered. It just might take a little bit more time. It might take a little bit more iterations. It might take a little bit more practice, a little bit more training, a little bit more like breaking of the beliefs, which if you ever want to have your beliefs broken or have ways to be able to like create different scenarios for yourself so that you can live a more meaningful, fulfilling life, I do offer coaching, which you can book that down below, because I just want to help you break your beliefs to realize that like anything is possible. Like if you can imagine it, it's possible. But if you go back to the video that I did on the very first one around, I believe it was magic, if I'm remembering correctly, It is the ability to be able to think outside of the box. And most of the time you don't think outside of the box because you've been preconditioned your entire life to think this one way. So having somebody such as myself come in and be able to change your perspective through like an anime or a show that you have watched is one of the most impactful things that you can do, because now you can be like, oh, okay, well, like, sure, it's an anime. And you could be like, it's just a cartoon, but like all animes, all shows, they're based in some form of reality, because it's just like for David Blaine to be able to become a top class mage, he had to start to do things that other people thought were impossible. Yet there was a small portion of people that did believe it was possible. So if you want to figure out how to break through your self-limiting beliefs or your mindset or any ways to be able to become a first-class mage, I can help you out with that. And if these are things that you're interested in, you can always comment down below other things that you thought was impossible beforehand, and then we can talk about those things, because I'd love to hear what you've seen that you thought was first impossible and then it started to become possible, because I have a feeling that our definition of impossible and possible are probably slightly different. So if you want to share those things with me, more than welcome to. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you watching.